Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Not Forgotten podcast slash YouTube show. We got a special episode for you here. This is just a little intro we're doing for it. We have an episode where we actually sat down with one of the sons of John Block, who went missing with his wife Jean Block in their Cessna. We have an interview with Michael Block, who was the son, and partway through the interview, we were talking for maybe 5 minutes, and he suggested that we record it and put it on YouTube because he wants to spread the word just like we do, obviously. So that's what we did. And then on the call with us too, we also had Patrick Richardson, who is the gentleman who's been working on this with us. He's a commercial flight pilot and a flight instructor.
Yep.
And
we've been telling you about him for a while.
Yep. And then we had Ross Richardson, and then give the profile on him, Jeff. He's
Ross Richardson is his website that he runs is MichiganMysteries.com. He does a lot of shipwrecks, plane crashes, things like that. He's a diver. Yep. His YouTube channel is actually, give me 1 second here, guys. NMI Rex. That's his YouTube channel.
NMI Rex, and he's another gentleman who actually has done a lot on this case even before we got involved. So he knows a lot about the case. So he's just another gentleman we had with us on the call. We've actually spoke to him before on a different call that we didn't record, but he knows a lot about the case. He's actually done a few physical searches of the plane. So he's on that call with us. And then it was us two and Michael.
This is all happening so fast that, I mean, this just happened literally, what do you think, like 20 minutes ago?
Yeah.
We're trying to fill everybody in as fast as we're getting this information, and it's just really hard. We actually got another episode that we want to post about all the stuff that we learned before this, but this came up tonight and we just had to post it. So
we're getting information faster than we can post it. So definitely check this out. Enjoy the interview. It's a very impactful interview. It's actually kind of sad, I guess is the word, maybe sad that it's just happening to him and his family. So he talks about the weather, talks about their flight path, talks about some things. So check it out, guys. Anything else?
Thanks for watching.
All right, here we go, guys. Enjoy the interview.
He kind of like a conservative risk taker, or did he kind of throw caution to the wind and just do what he thought he was going to do? Or was he, he was able to identify risks and say, well, that could be dangerous. I'm not going to do that.
I would classify him as not a risk taker. And the thing that I think would put him at risk, though, is more of the the old mentality of the man of the house. And he was a very mild, unassuming man, and he wasn't verbose or overly talkative. But he's old school in the sense that I'm the man. I'm going to take care. It's my job to take care of my family. And he like I say, I worry that. And I did talk to Civil Air Patrol people, and they asked me questions like that, and I said, I must confess, I think I agree. He said that VFR pilots like my dad often won't even look at the compass. They just got their head hanging out that window. Right. And and he's going to be stubborn about, if he didn't feel well, I think he'd still try to get to Luzerne. Now, I'd like to clear up another issue, and you're welcome to talk to John about this, but I think that's a red herring, the thought that he might try to go to Traverse City. I can't say, that he wouldn't. I mean, maybe the weather might have headed him in that direction, but I know for sure he wasn't he had things wanted to do and something to drop off, more stuff for John in Traverse City. Now, that's another thing I don't know was talked about. I don't know how much had a good number of things in the airplane that they were taken to John's house. And I wouldn't even be surprised if there was a couple of more building materials or something. I'm not suggesting the plane was overweighted. I'm just saying there were definitely multiple items that they were gonna, but that was the next day. They were gonna spend the night in Luzerne, and then the next day, daylight again, fly to Traverse City.
Could you give us an idea of what those items might have been?
No, I really don't have any idea.
Right, that's right.
But and the other thing, I'm certain, because there was some question about why would he go to Charlotte. Now you might be able to answer this better than I, but one of the Civil Air Patrol guys was a golfer, and he knew I was a golfer, so he said, "Wow, Charlotte," he says, "that is like the wildest hook ever if you're flying." He says, it's totally a dramatic left-hand turn from a direct line of flight from Macomb Airport to, so I think, and once again, I'm guessing, and I did talk to the couple in person, so it wasn't that they identified them from photos. This was firsthand, and I asked them we can cover that later, but so he said my dad did appear rather shocked at where he was. The couple that met, talked with him on the ground at that airport in Charlotte.
I know, let's see if I'm on mute. Can you tell us the story too? I remember when I talked to you on the phone about when he would drive around with you in the car when you were younger, and he would almost refuse to stop and ask for directions anywhere. He would just drive and drive.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair statement. And he wasn't doing it, to be mean or, he was, but the point is, my mother would say, "John, why don't we ask this fella? Or why don't we stop here?" And he wouldn't snap at my mother. He wasn't, like I said, I don't want to portray him as some macho, stubborn guy, because he wasn't anything like that. But stubborn in the sense, no, I can get us there.
Yeah, yeah.
So that haunted me when, like I said, when I talked to the Civil Air Patrol people, I thought, oh, wow. Yeah, that could have easily happened.
So it's reasonable to think that kind of attitude could have carried over into the air? The reason I ask is because the stakes are much higher when you're flying, right? In a car, you can just kind of pull over, and even if you have to pull out a map and figure it out yourself, you can. But if you miss a landmark in the air, you could be really destined for trouble. So do you think the same thing, though? He would have just tried to find the destination on his own?
Yeah, absolutely. And there was no recording that day of any communication. So it sounds like he just did it on his own. And I can imagine his frustration, and was a horrible position to be in.
So,
but I just think he'd be reluctant to pick that microphone up.
So Michael, given that you talked to the gentleman who saw him in Charlotte, and they said that your father appeared to be shocked, you would be under the assumption that he must have been lost then, or he must have been lost up to that point, at least when he landed there, if he was shocked where he was, correct?
Yes, yeah. I think that really gave him a wallop that certainly didn't help his confidence, or if he was experiencing some hypertension, that sure didn't help.
Sure.
And I kind of felt for him.
Yeah. Well, and I know it's been a long time, but digging back in your memory bank, did that guy the guy that was telling you that he seen your dad and everything, did he seem genuine? It didn't seem like he was just trying to get involved because he wanted to be a part of something, right? Do you believe he was truthful?
Right. And I think I've always enjoyed interacting with people, I
Yeah.
was a police officer for a short while,
Sure.
but I was dealing with people my whole life as an insurance salesman and I'm very comfortable talking to people. So I and I knew this is probably the most important interview of my life to that point because I needed to get it right.
Sure.
So I tried to mislead them, like a good detective would be if you're trying to. Not that I was a good detective, but the fact that I didn't want to, help them at all. I
Right.
didn't want to certainly coach them. So I do remember distinctly saying to the wife, trying to mislead her in the sense that my dad, of course, dad was a lot taller than mom, and both of their faces just looked confused.
Oh,
And that really was a gut slammer for me because I did the last thing I wanted them was to be credible because I knew from search situations that when you throw that search grid that big, I was afraid that they're just going to give up. And so I thought about not saying that they weren't credible, but unfortunately, in my mind, they were credible. They described my mom and dad to a T. And then they said, no, I don't remember your dad being taller than your mom. The woman said, I think your mom might have been taller than your dad, which
Wow.
actually was true. So they certainly had and then they described her hair color and her, body style. So
sure.
unfortunately for me that day, they were credible as being accurate that they were in fact landed there.
That's a good chunk of information. I appreciate you explaining it the way you did because that really helps me wrap my mind around it. And hearing you say it, thinking about that interaction happening in my brain and actually hearing you tell it to me, it's a lot more impactful. And because I've always bounced back and forth the idea of, man, did they really go to Charlotte? I just, not because I didn't believe the witnesses. I don't believe anybody. But when I hear you talk about it and I think about it the way you're explaining it, I feel like they probably did, if that to me.
And didn't you say too, Mike, there was a cop or a state trooper there too that was investigating that with you? That sighting
Yeah,
or
I don't know
something?
that he was investigating as much as just connecting us. He described where we could meet and that sort of thing. It'd be interesting to see if they even had a case number that far back. I'm surprised all the things you guys still have access to. Like I didn't realize that the police report in Traverse City was 40 some pages.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I sent a FOIA, a Freedom of Information Act request to them a few weeks ago and just asked for anything they had, and that's what they sent me. About 43 pages of witnesses' names and troopers' names and all kinds of different sightings that alleged sightings and things like that. We got a lot more than we were expecting because we did get a few things from, I believe, John, your brother. We got a few things from him, and I thought we were going to get a lot of just the duplicate stuff that he already had, but we got a lot of stuff that we didn't necessarily. He may have it, but we just didn't get it from him, so it was good.
Yeah, that's good.
Mm-hmm. I think if I remember right, there was something in that report about a state trooper, something in Charlotte. We have his name, but I just don't remember what it's. I'd have to look at it again.
I'm really kind of floored now that we've had this discussion about the Charlotte stop. I really have to kind of internalize this. I'm not sure what to say at this point.
Yeah, it's definitely a big thing. So what we want to do eventually, Mike, do you go by Mike or Michael, or does it matter?
Yeah, either one's fine.
Okay. What we want to do eventually, this originally started out as just me and, well, on our side of things, it started out as just me and Jeff. We were kind of looking into some different things and we found this case on your parents and we just got super interested in it. And we wanted to really dive into it because it was local and it didn't seem like anybody knew, or even, I don't want to say nobody cared, but it was like the general public didn't really know about it. So we just thought this would be something really good for us to sink our teeth into and explore more. And I think what we came down to the conclusion of is that eventually we want to do some kind of some searching, some physical searching of our own. And then we got in touch with Patrick. He's the pilot. And then Ross, who's on this call, we got in touch with him recently, and he knows a lot about the case. And eventually we want to do some actual physical searching. And right now what we've been doing is we've been doing a lot of searching on, I don't know if you know what Google Earth is, where you can go on Google Earth and look at some different things. It's kind of like you can see the world on the kind of the computer, but there's a couple plane crashes that were actually found on Google Earth. So we've been messing with that a little bit and trying to see if we could find anything there. But basically why I'm saying all that to you is do you have any theories on your side of things where you think maybe areas that could be searched harder or areas that weren't searched, or do you have any theories on where you think the plane could be? I know that's kind of a touchy subject. I mean, it's your parents, but do you have any theories on that and where you think it might be?
Well, one of them it wasn't actually my theory. It was he was a captain, I believe, or one of the hierarchy in the Civil Air Patrol. And I talked to him about Charlotte. And he said that wow, that really throws a monkey wrench in it. And I told him, I said, yeah, that's why, I really struggled with even, going there, because it just throws the search pattern huge.
Right.
But anyway, so he said, well, and he's the one that talked to me about describing the atmosphere in the cabin of the airplane. He said what his theory was that if you missed your left turn, you went left that badly, and he took off in a fairly short time frame. They didn't use the bathroom, and that's another thing. There's no way my dad would walk behind a tree and go to the bathroom, nor my mother. They're that ilk, and that doesn't help the matter. Having a full bladder.
Yeah.
So the Civil Air, the pilot said, so what if he hangs another left? Where is he now? And I said, I don't know. He's just over Lake Michigan.
Right.
And if he has a medical emergency, then that would account for why we never found the airplane, or won't find it. And then, of course, now we know we haven't found it.
Right.
So I don't know. If you ask me, do I have a theory? And that's all it is that's what happened. But I don't have a shred of anything other than,
Sure.
if I know as an athlete and a golfer, often, there's an adage about don't let one bad shot cost you three. I suppose you can apply that to flying airplanes.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna get a second chance. So
Yeah.
I wonder what the pilot thinks about that.
Yeah, so I heard that your father did not like to fly over water. Is that true?
I would say so, yeah.
So it would seem to me if he was flying west and saw water, that he may turn around and get back over land. Do you think that's a reasonable assumption?
I think it is, yeah. So I think the only way the water works is if the timing was perfect, right? He was headed towards the water, tried to turn. I mean, that's pretty far-fetched, but and then had a medical event. Then maybe the water would come in. But I mean, how fast can you go in a Cessna, and how far is it to Lake Michigan from? Those are all things we can find out, of course, but from the Charlotte airport.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of this, and it just boggles the mind, because to proceed due west like that, be shocked at your destination, and then to continue to proceed due west would be it would be a catastrophic error in navigation. I find it hard to believe that he would do that, but it is true that VFR pilots don't always reference the compass as they should. But he did, here I would say this, he did have a directional gyro in the plane, which is kind of like a horizontal compass that sits on the panel, right? And instead of a compass that spins this way, it spins this way. So he can tell whether he's going north, west, south, or east. So yeah, like I say, there's a whole lot going on in my mind now, and I've got to sort this out because there's a lot here.
Yeah, if he went to Charlotte and then actually went north and stayed north, it's not as massive of a thing as it seems. It's if he kept going west or veered west, or if he went west, then it gets like, oh my God, it could be absolutely anywhere. But if he went back north, I mean, basically we're just widening a little bit. But that's the thing. Did he go back north or did he keep going west? Right.
So one of the reports I read, I think it was from the police report, Traverse City, that he landed in Charlotte, wasn't there long because they got lost and left the airport, headed north, and they never fueled up when they left.
Yeah, that's in those police reports, right?
That's in the police report.
But so he probably took off north, but did he stay north? I guess is probably what we would want to. That's what it would matter, right?
So, Mike, I got to ask you a real blunt question. Where do you think the airplane is?
Oh, wow. Well, I'm altering my thinking a little bit. I'm hoping that, that maybe another left is far-fetched, so that'd be good. But to answer your question, if the plane's not in, like a deep body of water like Lake Michigan, then I think it's in the woods somewhere. And I heard somebody say they could have got stuck in a tree. I never heard anybody talk about that. And if that's the case, as Isaiah Thomas, all of his commercials, look up, because people don't look up.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's in a tree somewhere between Charlotte and Luzerne.
So I guess what I was getting at with my
But
question
I have no
is
idea really I don't have an intelligent guess.
okay. So what I was getting at was, do you think it's in the water or on land? And it sounds like you think it might be on land.
It might be on land. I hope so, because there's always a hope then that we might solve the mystery someday.
Yeah, and so what goes through my mind is if he was very averse to flying over water, and he got out over the water, once you get there, a complete avalanche. And so it would be apparent immediately that he was over a body of water. And so I guess my thinking was he would turn back. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm kind of shying away from the thinking that he would have made another wrong left turn. But the fact that he ended up in Charlotte, which I truly believe he did now, I'm still processing that. Ross, I'm interested to hear, you've been a bit quiet. You're probably taking it in just like I am. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, it is something to think about. I think from the point of where to look, the southern part of the state is pretty populated. If he did fly over Lake Michigan, you're right. I don't think he would get far from shore on a day like that. I guess we'd have to see what the wind was like, because I would imagine there'd be a lot of people at the beach and a lot of people maybe out in boats. So I don't think he would be far out over the water. I know there are a lot of planes out there. So I guess if he did go north, and I have every reason to believe he did, what route would he take from Charlotte to get back? Would he head back to 75 let's see here on 69 or,
I think that main road coming north is like 127, isn't it?
yeah,
Tyler, if you want to give me a screen share, I can show you. I've been putting together some
Oh,
possible
sorry.
routes here.
Go ahead.
Ask Danny.
Are you able to see this?
Text.
yeah.
I can
Okay.
see it.
So I have 3 possible routes plotted out. And I guess after this conversation, I might have 3 more. Right, but this first one on the screen represents kind of a direct route. If he took off from the Vers Macomb Airport and then went up to Lost Creek Sky Ranch, avoiding the water because he didn't like to fly over water. After this conversation, I think this is out.
Yeah. I'm pretty convinced he went to Charlotte.
I think this is out. So that would be a route from the Macomb Airport to Charlotte and then a straight shot up to Lost Creek Sky Ranch.
Okay,
Now,
yeah.
after this conversation, I'm not sure if that actually happened. The third one is going to be if he decided to take, I think what you said,
127.
127 all the way up and then take, I'd have to look. There's another road where you see all those waypoints up top.
Yeah, I think that's in like Grayling right there is where it's cutting off
Yes, it goes to Grayling and then cuts over to the east
to Lucerne.
to Luzerne. The other one that I was thinking of, let me stop this and I'll share a different screen. Let's see. Screen 2, I gotta get back to. Give me 1 second. All right, you see this map on the screen here?
Yep.
So this is, if he was to hang another turn here, and this is what I'm starting to think about. If he did one of these numbers. And then I think he's gonna be so far in here. It's going to be difficult for him to kind of put a pinpoint on where he's at. I see a number of alternate routes here. And when we talk about aircraft accidents, right, it's never, like Landon said the other night, it's never one thing, ever. It's always a consistent pattern of errors or misfortune, whatever you want to call it, right? Like an accident never occurs because of one problem. It's always a series of events that causes it to happen. So I'm leaning more towards a navigation error because if he, think of it like this. What if he followed it up like that?
Well, now on this route,
No.
on this route you got here, Patrick, we're getting close to his maximum amount of time being in the air with the amount of fuel he has, aren't we?
I'd have to do the calculations, but let me look here.
I know I saw that thing that said 3
Yeah.
hours. I didn't know if that's what I was looking at or what.
Yeah. So this is estimated time en route is 3 hours and 41 minutes.
And then
How long did we figure this thing could stay in the air in a full tank?
Well, 4 hours under a no wind scenario.
So he might have not even been able to had enough juice to go this far, maybe.
Potentially.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I'm-
That's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I'm still really thrown off now about what Michael said about him ending up in Charlotte. Because I believe it, right? Now I'm of the thought that maybe he did end up in Charlotte.
I believe it too, Mike.
But if he, so think about it, right? So this initial leg, right? You want to be going like this, but you've made an incredible navigational error and you've ended up there. If he got flustered after that, I mean, who knows, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if it's, I mean, even if it's over here, right? You look at this light color, like this is that's a very populated area. It's well-traveled.
Yeah.
And even so is this area, right?
Right.
But if he ended up on 131, and this is the other thing I need to get from MDOT is what did the terrain and population density look like in 77, right? Because the state's been heavily developed since then. Certainly it wasn't as dense in 77. So
I know once you get going north, the more, well, that's not necessarily true, but I would say it's less populated on the east side of the state by Luzerne, Mayo, Rose City, all that area than it would be over by like your Cadillac, Kalkaska, Traverse City. That's not 100% true, but it's generally, I would say, true. It's more populated on the east side than the west.
right. I guess the other thing that goes through my mind is, yes, the state was probably less densely populated in that area in 77. However, it's since been, I don't want to say deforested, right? But harvested. There's been development, commercial, residential. I would think if something was there, that it would have been discovered at that time.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to think that he may have ended up over Lake Michigan.
Right. The other thing too in the back of my mind is what Ross was talking about in his theory, that it could be in one of those really vast swamps that have all those cattails, and that really, that's another thing to keep in mind too, in my opinion. But
That's where I'm kind of going. I think this is in some sort of it's in a remote, hard to get to area. So, and there are, I will say, right, in Michigan anyways, probably in other states, there are areas that look like really good landing sites that are really bad landing sites.
right.
Mhm.
Right. And once you get down below 1,500 feet, you're committed. There's no way to say, oh, well, okay, well, I'll go look for another landing site. Your engine is off, you're gliding, you can't, there's no second pass. There's no second chance at that, right? The field that you picked is the field you're going in, whether it's flat and straight or whether it's a bog.
And you put haze into that equation, that's even
It's-
more
it's
it's
really-
probably even lower, probably, or not, or even higher, because you can't even see anything till you get so far down.
Yeah, it's very difficult. And that's one of the advantages of being instrument rated is using, visual flight rules. You're kind of forced, especially with a haze, right? You're kind of forced to fly at those lower altitudes, right? But me as an IFR pilot, I look at that and say, well, hell, I'd fly 8,000 to 9,000 feet. I'm not worried about it. That way I'm in air traffic, I'm on radar. I can talk to air traffic control. If I have a problem, I can say, hey, I got a problem, give me the closest airport available. At that point, I'm high enough that I could probably glide, wherever I needed to.
Right.
But
I know
Yeah.
another thing I was thinking of too is the further on the east side of the state he got, that's where later on in the night where that bad weather came from. Wouldn't it come from the east to west when we were looking? So
no, it would come from west to east.
I'm sorry,
Remember-
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry, I got my directions mixed up. From Traverse City side, from the west.
the derecho came down there,
Right.
but that was much, much later.
But I wonder if just the pre kind of weather, like how the weather gets kind of crappy as bad weather comes. I don't know if it'd be any worse on that side than on the east side. It'd be worse on the west side. I don't know, but
Yep. So that brings up a good point. So the next weather I need to look at then is Grand Rapids, Big Rapids, Cadillac, and Traverse City.
yeah.
So, and I have those reporting stations available to me. So
Nice.
I need to have a look at what those weather conditions were at the time he may have been in the air.
If one of those cities is worse than the other ones, like if it's real bad, we could almost say, well, maybe that's an area where he could have went down, if we know it's so much worse than the others, or, not for sure, but
Yeah, I still think this is this is just kind of like a perfect storm of stuff.
Yeah, of a
But
mess.
the more I think about it, it's like I said in the chat, initially when Ross said he thinks it might be in Huron Manistee, I was like, I don't know if I believe that. And then the more I thought about it, and the more I looked at the geography and the north-south road construction in the state, I was like, yeah, maybe that's right.
Sure.
Maybe he
Mhm.
is over there.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike,
So-
sorry to interrupt, but can you tell us,
Sorry.
when I talked to you on the phone, you told me about, I think it was like 2 or 3 o'clock that day, you started to feel something. Can you tell us that, how you kind of felt something was happening? Just put us in the mindset, kind of.
Yeah, so as I recall, I called John about 11 o'clock, or not 11 o'clock, but 12:30, 1 o'clock, closer to 3 probably, now that I think about it, because actually it was so hot, and my father-in-law, it was more of an excuse to get out of shoveling gravel up in Luzerne. And I couldn't believe it. I thought, well, if he doesn't die soon, I will. It was so hot. And I thought, so I said, well, I got to call my brother. My parents ought to be here by now. And so I called John, and then he hadn't heard anything. Not that he should. They should have been in at the Sky Ranch by then.
Sure.
And so then when about 4 o'clock, my wife and I went for a walk, and it just hit me right then that Mom and Dad were gone. And it was just so
Heavy.
overwhelming. And of course, I hoped and prayed I was wrong, but my whole mindset changed at that time. But I didn't give up. I just always thought, if it was me, I would want my children to, and everybody else, to keep looking and not give up. So that's why that Charlotte thing was quite a blow to another blow to my hopes.
Yeah. Completely understand that for sure.
Yeah, because we were kind of confused for a while when somebody first looks into this case and they don't know anything about it, and you try to start looking into the information that's actually out there on like Google or YouTube or anything like that. It's kind of conflicting because some of it says that he went to Charlotte, and some of it says he just left from Macomb to head to Luzerne. So it's kind of like 50-50 when you start looking at it, and it's kind of confusing. And then that's why I'm really glad that you were able to join us today and tell us your side of the story a little bit.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any other questions for Mike at all? I don't know how long he wants to be hanging out on the computer with us, but
I don't really know right now. I'm trying to like take in everything that he already said. I'm starting to think that the Charlotte, I believe the Charlotte thing.
yeah, I think we're all in pretty agreeance on that, or general agreeance on that.
I was really hoping that
I
was really hoping that was a hoax, but I don't think it is.
No.
What was he gonna say, Mike?
I was
Go ahead.
going to say that I feel after our talking this evening, I feel a little better about that they're not in the water. So I think the best chance we have moving forward is to get more, if we can generate more interest in about this, I think it would really help. The more eyes and ears you have out there, and it's fascinating in my mind, some of these missing persons. And I can tell you from a family that nobody seemed to take an extra interest about my parents missing or do anything. And that's why I appreciate you fellas so much. My heart goes out to people that their families are missing. And like this recent case with the couple traveling around,
Yeah.
Even though I left police work fairly early, younger, much so than my brother, I was always with policemen. All my friends, when I was on the police department, I stayed in golf leagues for 25 years with them. My brother is a career police officer and an excellent one. So I've been around them, and I know how many missing people there are out there. But a missing person has to get lucky that somebody takes an interest, and it snowballs, and all of a sudden you have TV stations and everything else looking, and that really helps solve cases often. It's just volume of people being interested. So
Absolutely.
if you guys can generate more interest in finding my parents, boy, more power to you.
Yeah, that's what we've been trying to do, Michael. Me and we've been trying to do these videos for YouTube, and we've been putting them on our Facebook. And what we're doing is we don't really just put them on the internet and let them sit. Is we'll put a little bit of fuel or money behind them, and kind of almost treat them like an advertisement, like a company would put advertisements. We're advertising the case to people, and we're designating that just to Michigan. So it's forcing. When people go on their Facebooks or their social media, because of what we do as far as boosting it and putting some advertising money behind it, it's forcing the video to go onto people's news feeds. So when they're scrolling through it, it comes by their face. Whether they click on it or not, you don't have any control over that. But it puts it in their face. And with hunting season and everything going on, that's kind of what we've been trying to do, is just get people to, know about it. Because I'll tell people, they'll say, what have you been up to? Oh, me and my cousin, some guys we met, been looking for an airplane. Oh, really? Yeah. Have you heard about this and this from 1977? No, we haven't. It's like, just not even if you didn't care about people, just the mystery in it alone of a plane that nobody can find seems to me like it should be enough to get people interested. So that's kind of what we're trying to do. So,
Well, more power to you.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't, it's hard for me to think this is a coincidence that all of us have come together at the same time in early October, and this has kind of, flared up again into a thing, and that we're all looking for this airplane. But more than the airplane, like, we'd really like to return your parents to you so we can give them a dignified burial, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're not interested in anything else but finding your folks.
Mhm.
So that's all I can say.
I completely agree with that. Yep.
Yeah, and there are other people that are not on this call that are also involved. A few people couldn't make it tonight, so this isn't just for me anyways, and I think I speak for the rest on the call, this isn't just a kind of a passing interest, like, hey, look at this is kind of interesting, let's look at it. Like, we're putting a lot of effort into trying to find your folks. So,
Yeah. So
I feel like we've got a good shot at it, but getting all of the information, like, there's a lot of information here to comb over. And so we're in that process, and then I think we'll be able to put together a plan after that.
Mhm.
yeah, all five guys on the screen, all five of us, we were all, well, besides me and Jeff, we're cousins, but we were all strangers a week or 2 weeks ago. So just the power of the internet and people being interested in it brought us all together, and we kind of assembled a little bit of a team. And it seems like every week we add somebody to it. I think we got one guy who's not on here, who's another pilot. But what do we got? 6 guys on this now, right? Looking at this. So
Yeah. Yep.
the more the merrier. And hopefully we can at least, if we don't find them, at the very least, make Michigan aware of it in general. Just make Michigan aware of it at the very least. But if we can find them, all the better. So
Yeah, that was the one thing that went through my mind, is if we're for some reason not able to find them, I wanted you and your brother to know that every possible avenue had been exhausted to try to locate them.
yeah.
Mhm.
So
Hey, Mike, I one thing for you. You said you used to be what was it, a police officer, or detective, or
A police
investigator?
officer, yeah.
Okay. What I want to do for you, I don't know how often you get to sit home and relax and just look over things, but I'm gonna get Tyler to email to you what we had from the Traverse City Police Department. It's like 42, 43 pages of eyewitness accounts. Just if you get bored, maybe comb through them. The eyewitness reports, some of them are just going to be not true. Some of them might be kind of true. It's just stuff that the police picked up over the years. But I think it might be interesting if you just kind of take a gander through it and just see what you think.
Yeah, I've got
No,
one better,
yeah.
Jeff. I can add him to our shared folder. And then
Okay.
all of our investigative materials are in there. So
Okay.
I would just need your email address, Mike, and then we can add you to that.
I
Yeah,
can
we
send it
got
to you. I can send it to you, Patrick. After this, I'll
Perfect.
send it to you.
Perfect.
So, all right.
Yeah. And it's, I just have a quick question. Will this meeting tonight, will this be on YouTube?
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, we weren't planning on it, but
Well, I mean, I'm fine with that because anything that, would generate interest or get more people. I just want to share a quick thing about how mystified when I've told this story to people. They ask me, I meet somebody, new people, new friends, and they'll ask me, we'll get to discussing about our families, and I'll tell them my story, and every single time they'll say, wow, that's unbelievable. They almost look at me like with some skepticism.
yeah.
Is that really happened? And then when I tell them it's a short, reasonably short flight overland on the 4th of July between noon and 2 p.m. I mean, like I've had this discussion with friends. If somebody said you're going to have to crash your small plane, but we'll let you pick the day and the time, that's exactly the time most pilots would pick. I mean, they wouldn't pick that weather necessarily, but so it's just a little mind-boggling. And I've had people, I think, with some skepticism when I shared the story that that they didn't believe it. It was too hard to believe that something that interesting could happen, and not more people know about it. So I hope and pray that we can get more people aware of it. That would help.
I wonder
Thank
if
you
another.
thank you all for what you're doing.
Absolutely.
welcome.
Absolutely. No
I
thanks
wonder if
necessary.
another news spot would be good. I don't know how we would make that happen, but at least in northern Michigan, right? The Traverse City news stations to cover that. I'd be interested to see if we could make that happen. But Mike, I'll just say, like, I'm sorry this happened to your family. It has to be incredibly difficult to deal with, but just as a consolation, like, we're all here and we all really want to find them.
Yeah. And I'm not opposed to calling. I can call some news channels. It doesn't matter to me. I'll give them a call tomorrow. But that's basically all we do, Mike, is just like when we do our episodes on YouTube for your mom and dad there. I think we got 3 episodes. We don't really rehearse anything. We don't we kind of just do what we did just now. We pretty much get the new information, figure out a few things that we might want to talk about. We hit record, do the thing, and then upload it. And we really didn't have too many guests on the channel because we're not sure how people feel about actually being on YouTube. So we don't want to pressure people and say, hey, can we record this? And like, because we're trying to get as much help as we can. We don't want to scare anybody away. So if you're not afraid to have it on YouTube, we can definitely easily do that. This will probably be a good episode. I'm not sure about how Ross and Patrick feel about it, but if they're not worried about it, we're uploading a video on your mom and dad probably once a week, and we're just going to keep doing that. But I will definitely, now that Patrick just said that, I didn't even think about that, but I could start hounding some news channels here and see what they can do.
Yeah, I'm good
Yeah,
if you
and-
upload it from my end anyways. I don't care. The goal is to find John and Jean.
Sure.
Yeah, and I would appreciate you uploading it from my side of the
Okay.
spectrum and because, you know, people are interested in these kind of things. I mean,
Yep.
after all, they'll read a book and they don't even know the players. So
Yeah.
anyway, so thank you once again from my,
Thank you, Mike.
Absolutely. No thanks necessary.
You're welcome. No problem.
And you wouldn't be opposed, like maybe if we find out some new stuff or want to give you some updates, would you be open to maybe doing another meeting a couple weeks from now or anything like that? Or
sure, I'd be glad to.
Okay.
okay.
Ross, did you have anything you wanted to say or anything before we cut her off?
I know, just nice meeting you, Mike. Yeah, thanks for coming on and sharing with us.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you very
thank you,
much.
Ross.
We're gonna do the best we can. So
All right, Mike, we appreciate it. Is everybody all set? Good to close her down?
hey, Mike, you got my number too. If anything comes up, you give me a call. Don't be afraid. Whatever time it is or anything like that, you can call me or text me anytime. And I will definitely keep you updated. And if you can, keep an eye on those YouTube videos because we make one a week about all the new info, updates, anything like that. And like Patrick said, he's going to get you the documents from the Traverse City Police. You can comb through that one of these days when you get a time just to sit down and clear your head.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Take it easy.
guys.
Thanks again, Mike.
Yep.